All right. Okay, in today's demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make a cardboard stamp with, this is cotton cord, and we'll do a stamp pattern. Then I'm going to show you how to mix paint, and then I'll paint in my pattern design. Okay. So if I'm using a piece of cardboard, I usually like to cut a little notch in it on two sides. That's where I put I secure my string. And then not too complicated, but you know, you can wrap this, make a little pattern. You know, if you need to cut another notch, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut another notch. There we go. And then I'll just tie it on the back. To secure it. Okay, then here's my Bristol paper. I'm just doing a small piece. And I'm using this liquid acrylic black paint that I got at Michael's. You could go with a color if you want, but I'm going to go, there we go. And then I'm taking a flat brush and I'm just going to loosely apply the paint. And as I go along, more paint will build up. It'll get more saturated, which is good. Okay, so, and I tend to rotate my stamp, and if it starts looking a little light, I just reapply some more paint. And I even save my stamp at the end because that's a little piece of mixed media, kind of like a low level piece of sculpture that I just made, and I could end up painting the stamp or incorporating it into one of my pieces. And I'm doing this first because I want it to have time to dry while I mix my paint, and then I can come back and paint this in. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. Now, if you've already done that kind of a stamp, my other idea is you could just paint with the string, or a combination of the string and printing some objects. Okay. Give me just a minute here. All right. Okay. So another piece of Bristol paper. If you want to do string printing, which is a little bit freer, I take my cotton cord, I hold my brush down, pull my string through that liquid black paint. Now, this is where you could look at the 12 composition designs I sent, and you could mimic one of those. So I'm going to do a radiating composition. Okay, it still hasn't absorbed enough paint. Let me get more. So I'm going to go radiating composition. There we go. I can let it curve a little bit. I could let it overlap a little bit. Then I'm going to use some of these bottle caps. I'm going to put some circles in there. Here's a cupcake holder thing. So using these found objects as stamps, and this will give me a compositional structure that then I can paint in with the colors that I'm going to mix. Okay, so here's what I'm seeing. All right, maybe one more. Okay, put that aside. I'll set that aside. And now I'm going to get, here's my palette paper. I'm going to use my angled palette knife, and I'm going to do a tint, and I'm going to go Prussian Blue. So I'm just going to mix one color. You know, you can mix as many as you want, but the goal of this is to show you how to mix. And then I'll make a gradation on this piece of Bristol paper here. So when a color is really dark, like Prussian Blue, or super saturated, like, or intense, like a red, little bit goes a long way. So on my palette, and these are small paintings, but I'm going to be a little generous here. I'm going to put about, that's about a tablespoon, I think, maybe a little less. And then here's my Prussian Blue. Let me just go get a paper towel here. So on one end, I'm going to put, there's my Prussian Blue, okay? And then over here, I'm going to have white, and I'm going to do my gradation in between. But I need to get a paper towel because I have to wipe my palette knife off as I go. All right, I'm back. Okay, so wiping that off. Here's the white over here. All right, so what I'm going to do, I need to save some white for my painting. So I'm going to pull this down here. Okay, then I'm going to add a little bit of Prussian Blue at a time to shift that color. So start with small amount and then work up to more. Okay, that's a nice soft blue. Now, the palette knife is great if you want to mix larger amounts of paint. As I said before, I used to never like the palette knife, and part of it is a lot of the paint gets, it's frustrating. It gets globbed on there. And so the question I had today is, how do you resolve that? Maybe you scrape it off with something else. Maybe there's a technique. I don't know. But I was kind of lazy for years. Okay, now I'm going to reserve some of that color down here. And I use my brush. And what I realized is then if you're mixing with your brush, which you have to do some of that, you're going to, but if you mix big quantities, it all gets jammed into the base of the brush and the fibers. And so Cindy, when you showed me that, shows this comb tool for cleaning the paint out of brushes. So I was kind of intrigued by that. Like, here's a way to preserve your brush. Okay, so again, I'm going to take some of that and put it down here. and a little bit up here. Sorry, trying to get this all on here. Okay, there we go. All right, adding some more. Now I'm going to bring it up a little bit more quickly, but if I really got into this, you know, I could do 20 different gradations. But then I have this chart, you know, save it somewhere in a file, and it's your reference. Now, Prussian blue is already so dark that you're probably not going to shade it. If you did, you wouldn't get a huge gradation like this. Okay. See, I'm already running out of paint. I could have put way more white. And I just keep scooping and smushing. Okay. I'm going to add a little more white and bring it back because I should have added more. Okay. And then usually on my charts, I will write, you know, titanium white, Prussian blue. So I know what I've done. Okay, that's pretty similar. All right, I'm going to add a lot more here. Actually, I think that one was lighter. I'm going to go right over it. So probably in Venice and during the Renaissance, they had guilds, and I'm sure they had people, apprentices, just doing the paint mixing and mixing how much was needed for like a really large piece. That would be my guess. Oops, I forgot to reserve some. Go. Okay, and obviously I'm going to run out of room. I could keep going. I'll just use the rest of this and see, do one last one. Okay, all right, so that's my gradation right there. I will photograph and send this to you. And now I'm going to move right into using this paint that I mixed and my little printed thing that I made right there. And this is where you get to see how all the colors interact with one another. So I add a little bit of water. Again, I kind of like last week's warm up. I'm just making quick, spontaneous decisions about where the paint goes. I can do more transparent by adding more water, or I can go thicker. I'm not concerned with going right up to the black line. I'm keeping it loose. And this could go with my color chart as well. It would be a sample of what these paint look like together. Okay, and I think you get the idea. I'll finish this off later. Actually, I lied. I'll finish it off now because I don't want to run out of paint. Now I'm getting really thick and globby. So it's you're making a study, but it's also a bit of a warm up too. Okay, if you've already done this, you can go for that other choice I gave you. Another idea is you could paint. I did these last week. I did some stamping on book pages. And so you could paint on these, and then later you would have these as collage material, okay? Now, you've got leftover paint, and I don't like to waste leftover paint. So if you got that sandwich paper, that deli paper, you could scrape some of it on here. I think I'm going to add some to this brown paper bag. And this is where I like, no, changed my mind. We'll do the deli paper because now you're making collage paper. So I just very quickly scrape, scrape, scrape. And a little bit of paint goes a long way. I can make a whole stack of these. And what's nice is if you scrape over the bottom paint, becomes kind of transparent. Other colors show through. Okay, I'm gonna just go on to the next one and show you that this top edge of the palette knife, it's not working right now. Maybe it needs to be more liquidy paint. Sometimes I can draw with that top edge. Okay, not working today. anyway, I think you get the idea. You can use all this leftover paint, kind of apply it in a pattern, and then this can be used, saved once it's dry. I have like folders of this stuff, and then I can rifle through and pull out colored pieces of paper that I can cut and embed in future paintings. There's also this angle here. You could do much smaller marks. Okay, this is the black liquid acrylic. This works better for the top edge if I want to draw and make marks that way. All right, so I think you get the basic idea. I'm going to stop. Okay, I've been requested to, I think it's more tinting, a pink, a neon pink with a cadmium yellow. So I'm kind of looking at the cadmium yellow as almost my white in a way. And if that makes sense. And then, okay. These come in a squeeze bottle, and of course it's dried a little bit. Okay, here we go. There's my pink. Okay. So I got mixed up. Okay, all mixed up here with the controls. Okay, so I'm going to mix these two colors again. There's my yellow at one end of the scale. Here's my pink at the other. I'm going to work my way across, adding a little bit of pink to my yellow. Very vibrant. I think this is where neons, that's what I want to say, can make the color more vibrant. Getting a very rich yellow there. Okay, adding some more of that pink. So today, you don't have to do tints and shades. You could do something like this. I mean, it is tinting it, but you could just tint a color with another lighter color. I'm going to bring it up more rapidly here. Okay, that's going more into that orange now that you liked, Linda, kind of citrusy. Okay, I mean, you can see I could just keep going, but that's where that's going to end. And then I'm going to paint in as requested this circular piece. And I'm going to do a combo of palette knife The other thing I like about the palette knife is as I scrape over those black lines, it's spreading such a thin layer of paint that it becomes transparent, so I can see those black lines. Now that black paint was still wet, and so when I scraped it, it did that, but I actually like that. Anything else you want to see on this while I'm at it? Okay, now this could, it's going to dry, and then we're not getting into it yet, but I could go over with a wash layer on that, create some more layers.